Moving on, and in his Conservative Party conference speech yesterday, the Prime Minister announced a complete shake-up of the current A-level system in England, which will see sixth formers take 5 subjects, including maths and English, instead of the usual 3 or sometimes 4. Rishi Sunak says he wants teenagers to spend more time in classrooms, but head teachers across the country have already hit back. Of course they have, saying the plans are unworkable. Well, joining me right now is the chair of the Campaign for Real Education, Chris McGovern. Good afternoon to you, Chris.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Always good to be joined by you. Thank you very much. First time you've joined me in the afternoon. I always suggest to my team, I want to go to talk to Chris because I know he'll talk sense. We don't always agree with each other, but I know you've got in your heart the needs of the youth of the nation there. And I suppose the first question is just as a summary. Everyone we know carrying on to education to 18, taking 5 subjects to do A-level, not 3. An international baccalaureate, if you will, very similar to what other countries, mostly European countries, are doing, keeping on maths and English. First of all, leaving aside the practicalities, is it something that is desirable? Is that a reform that you think is a good idea?
Yeah, as I was writing in the newspapers this morning, we're broadly in favour. I mean, what Rishi Sunak is doing is actually facing up to the realities. We have an education system which needs fixing, and we're not going to compete with the rest of the world if we don't do something. And what I would say is that if you want to see our economy in 20 years' time, look at our education system today. Not only I say that, so do the international experts at the OECD. So we broadly welcome what Rishi Sunak is suggesting, but there are some problems ahead.
There certainly are. We've seen already, we've got a head teacher saying, look, we haven't got enough teachers as it is. Huge number of children in our schools are being taught by teachers for maths and science by teachers who don't have a degree in the subject. Some of them just told, oh, you're teaching that. One of my goddaughters got, I think, 3 or 4 different maths teachers, some of whom had no maths qualifications at all, teaching her A-level. Oh, what a surprise. Hard to get a good grade if you're in that situation. If we haven't got enough teachers now for what they're doing now, how do we find enough teachers to extend particularly maths teaching to all the way to 18, even if it's not a maths A-level as such, people just carrying on their maths?
It's not just maths, physics and modern languages are also problem areas for recruitment. The problem really, Julia, is that we've taken about 50 years to destroy our education system. And I'm afraid to say it's going to take just as long to put it back together again. So there are no quick solutions, but we do have to pay and reward good teachers and properly. And what we also have to look at is the school budget. And I've said it many times, there's plenty of money in the budget to pay good teachers a good salary, but the majority of staff in schools are not teachers. We need to redistribute some of the money to make sure that good teachers are paid. It's going to be a long job. And, you know, Rishi Sunak was prepared to lay down a marker really and say, look, it's a battle ahead. It's going to take a long time. And it can be done, but Singapore's an interesting comparison. High flyers, of course, but 50 years ago, mostly illiterate enumerate, now world leaders. It can be done. Yeah. But you can't do it overnight. It's going to take a long time, a generation or 2. Yeah. And you've got to pay teachers well because the best teachers need to be rewarded and encouraged.
Well, also, if you've got a maths degree or a science degree coming out of university and you've got a choice between various different careers, teaching it for a lot of those people is kind of the lowest paid option for them. Let's have a little watch and a listen to what Rishi Sunak actually had to say to the Tory party faithful and indeed to the country yesterday at party conference.
Our 16 to 19-year-olds spend around a third less time in the classroom than some of our competitors. We must change this. So with our advanced British standard, students will spend at least 195 hours more with a teacher. And fourth, A-level students generally only do 3 subjects compared to the 7 studied by our economic competitors. The advanced British standard will change that too, with students now typically studying 5 subjects.
Yeah, I mean, that's the summary of it. But again, he was also saying in an interview this morning that we've actually now got higher per head pupil funding. Well, we will have in the next year than ever before, even though, of course, it went down, according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, over a long period from 2010. Do you think that what he's offering in terms of an extra £30,000 tax-free over 5 years for new sort of specialist teachers to come in, is that going to touch the sides of the sort of money that schools are going to need to hire those teachers?
Let me first of all say that the Institute of Fiscal Studies also pointed out that before 2010, from 1953 to 2010, real spending, in real terms, spending on education went up 900% in real terms. Can it be done with a bit of extra money? Well, it's a very slow process. Rishi Sunak is facing up to the problem. He doesn't know enough. What's going to happen, Julia, is that he will eventually, or the next government, or the government after that, will set up working parties. But the agenda will be hijacked. Yes. It always is. I worked with Margaret Thatcher when we set up GCSE. The educational professionals, so-called, hijack what's going on. They set the agenda. So what Sunak is saying now we should have will turn out to be very different. Most likely it will be very diluted. And we've got to compete with countries who have very high standards. So that's the issue. Raising the bar academically and broadening it is going to be difficult. It's going to be a slow process. It's a big battle ahead, but we've got to fight it. We have no choice.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. Certainly, Chris McGovern from the Campaign for Real Education, thank you so much.